Robert Greenwald is with us, one of the really great guys out there, one of the brilliant I'm looking for a superlative that isn't a cliche, because Robert Greenwald is one of these people who really stands out so extraordinarily. A filmmaker, director, activist, founder of Brave New Films, bravenewfilms.org. Warcosts.com is his newest project, The Cost of War, Exposing America's War Profiteers. Robert Greenwald, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Tom. It's good to be with you.
And the Twitter is...
my name, Robert Greenwald.
Robert Greenwald, okay, at Robert Greenwald. Okay, got it.
Yes.
And tell us about this project, Robert.
Well, as you well know, Tom, and your listeners well know, because you've done an amazing job of helping all of us understand this, the costs of war have been ongoing for years and years. They're financial, they're moral, they're physical, you name it, and the costs have taken a terrible toll on us. And as we were continuing to work on our Afghanistan, we looked around and we realized there's never been a consistent long-term opposition to the very idea of war and to the cost of war. Mm-hmm. And so we're launching today in the hope that your listeners and viewers will join us either on Facebook or website or my Twitter, what's going to be a long-term campaign to let people know the terrible price that every single one of us is paying, Tom. The $17,000 per family that people have paid for Iraq and Afghanistan, the number of deaths, the people overseas, the countries we've destroyed. And it's a long-term project. The good news is that with the Debt Commission, there really is an opportunity to get people's attention, because it's either or.
But you're talking about the Gang of 12 by the Debt Commission. Is that what you mean? Yeah, okay.
Gang of 12, there you go. And they're going to have to either cut the war budget and the war profiteers, or they're going to cut Social Security, Medicare, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm. Or a little bit of both. But but John Kyle, who is a member of the Gang of 12, threatened to walk off if there was any discussion of cutting defense spending. This makes it seems to me, Robert Greenwald, even more important that we have citizen action and that we be putting pressure on people like Senator Kyle to say, and others on the Gang of 12 and their colleagues, frankly, any member of the House or the Senate and the President in the White House, to say our military budget is insane. I mean, we spend more money on military than every other country on earth combined. Our military budget has tripled since 1998. What the hell are we doing?
Well, that's exactly right. It's an obscenity. And, I mean, Tom, and the listeners and viewers, think about the amount of waste that's in the military. We blindly accept $60 billion were wasted in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Can you imagine that number? Number one, what we could do with it? And can you imagine if that were somebody who was on welfare or somebody who maybe needed health care and they were stealing $100? There would be outcry, let alone $60 billion. So we really think there's an opportunity here, Tom, and again, it's only going to work with people like yourselves and your listeners and viewers saying no more. We're going to start now. We're going to start to call people out. We're going to notify the fact that they're taking money from war profiteers and war contractors. We're going to talk about the amount of salaries and stock prices that are being raised and the amount of terrible, terrible moral damage this is doing to our country with our imperialism.
Robert Greenwald, back in the 1940s, when we were fighting against the Nazis and against Tojo in World War II, Franklin Roosevelt, well, actually Senator Harry Truman, got up and said it would be an obscenity if there were war profiteers. Roosevelt made the famous speech about how no one's going to become a millionaire as a result of this war. Truman actually put together or maybe he was already on a committee that started holding hearings on it, and they started looking into war profiteering, exposing war profiteers. I'm not a scholar of that particular time and event, but I know that happened. How do we, and now we've got, Halliburton was on the verge of bankruptcy before Bush and Cheney came into office, largely because of its acquisition of Dresser Industries, but they were teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Now they've, they've just kind of blown it out. Eric Prince Blackwater was basically a shooting range in a rich kid's backyard. How do we bring America back to the point where the average citizen would think that it would be a normal and appropriate thing for Congress to hold a commission or hold hearings on who are the war profiteers and how do we call them out?
Well, I think, and I really don't mean to sound grandiose about this, Tom, but it starts here. It starts now. It starts today. It starts with the great work you are doing and your listeners and viewers, and it requires every one of us to say, I'm going to put some time into it. I'm going to go to the Facebook, or I'm going to go to the website, or I'm going to go to the Twitter. I'm going to pass around the information. I'm going to pass around the videos, because fundamentally, most of the country is with us on this issue, but the war profiteers, the contractors, the Pentagon, the military, industrial, academic, combination has dealt a terrible blow. But I think the financial crisis gives us an opportunity to talk about this in ways that people will really fundamentally hear. When you can't get a job, when you're losing your home, when you don't have health care, and then you see not millions, but billions are spent on weapons that will never even be used. And how dare they argue that this budget should not be cut?
Right. And the website is warcosts.com.
Correct. And Facebook War Costs and my Twitter.
Yeah. And it's, and your Twitter is Robert Greenwald, Greenwald. And this is step one in awakening people. I mean, it's really remarkable, Robert. I mean, your piece on Walmart became iconic. Your piece on Fox News became iconic. The work that you have done, and a whole variety, Rethink Afghanistan, the Iraq War, over and over and over again, the work that you have done as a filmmaker and an online activist has actually brought about social movements and changed politics. And here's another one. This is a brand new one, warcosts.com. And this is where we wake people up. So what are the costs of war, Robert?
Well, we'll never know on the financial level. We'll really never know, Tom, because so much of it is hidden, so much of it is obscured. But we know the we know the $17,000 that I mentioned that each family is paying. We know the $60 billion that's been wasted. And we know also there are recent studies coming out, and we're going to be hitting this hard, that it's you take these dollars and you put them out of war and into other businesses and other industries, and we create thousands and thousands more jobs. So it becomes indefensible on any level unless you're profit from it, or you expect to leave the Pentagon and go to work for one of these corporations. Mm-hmm. You know, there's lots of work that that needs to be done, but I do believe the moment in time is so strong right now, and people fundamentally are not only exhausted by the wars, Tom, but they don't believe they're making us safer. So if the wars aren't making us safer, and then you look up on the weapons system and the planes that will never fly and the missiles that will never be used and the billions spent on warships that will never go anyplace, you begin to say why. And when people say why, it gives us an opportunity.
Yeah. Does this, very quickly, Robert Greenwald, does this also include things like the nuclear weapons that we have against the Soviet Union that no longer exists?
Exactly. And the bases around the world that are totally useless and have no reason for being other than bureaucracy and imperialism. Amazing.
Warcosts.com and Twitter at Robert Greenwald, and War Costs, of course, over on Facebook. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Tom.